Welcome everyone to SEO Office Hours. My name is Michael Chidzey. I'm an SEO here at Good Signals. And part of what we do, along with special guests, are these office hours sessions where people can jump in and ask their questions around their website and web search. By the way, nobody here is in the hot seat and we might not know all the answers, but multiple heads thinking about a problem should help. We've got a bunch of questions submitted already, as you can see, but if there's anybody here live on the call that would like to ask any questions, feel free to flag yourself in the chat functionality, which will be monitored. Also, there's usually a bunch of other amazing SEOs on the call. I think one of the best things about SEO Office Hours isn't just the four of us sharing, but everybody else also sharing their experiences and perspectives to the questions. So please continue to do that. So you may have noticed that Joe's not with us today, and coming from inside a Christmas tree is Ruth. Good morning, Ruth.
Good morning, good evening. It's good evening here in Brisbane. Good evening.
Yeah, you're in Australia. With a glass of fizz, I've been told.
With a glass of fizz, that's right. With a glass of fizz, because it is 7:30 p.m. here. Yes. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Today is our 53rd SEO Office Hours. I'm Ruth Turnbull, standing in for twin sister Joe Turnbull, and yes, dialing in from Brisbane. So I wish you a good morning for my good evening. My experience is really in digital marketing for the past 13 years, all things digital to various degrees. And before moving into the digital world, I worked in wine and public relations in London, and I'm thrilled to be here. So thank you very much for having me. I'd like to introduce our guests. I will introduce our guests and give you a bit more introduction about their background. But I just want to first say a big thank you to Jérôme and Silvia for joining us. Jérôme Salomo is a senior technical SEO at the award-winning SEO software company called Ahrefs. He's based in Bordeaux in France, and he helps clients with technical audits for complex site structures, analyzing logs and crawl data, and automating SEO with Python. Jérôme is also a regular trainer and speaker on these topics, and he actually recently led a training workshop at Search London, which I think was that last month, Jérôme?
It was ago, I think 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
3 weeks. Yeah, it was great. Thank you, Ruth, for the introduction.
No problem. I will put Jérôme's introduction or bio in the chat shortly. I'll just talk a little bit about Silvia. Silvia Martin is the founder and SEO consultant at Chidzey Marketing, a trilingual marketing professional. She is actually fluent in English, French, and Spanish, and very passionate about helping businesses enhance their online presence and grow their organic revenue. In addition to being an avid speaker and mentor in the marketing world, Silvia served as a judge at this year's Search Awards, and she joined us on Office Hours actually this time last year. So we're extremely thrilled to have her back as well. So thank you both. Welcome to both of you. Welcome everyone, and welcome everyone around the world. Thank you for hosting and where you're calling from today.
Great. Okay, let's get cracking. Morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. So I think this person here, they submitted a question a few days ago, and I think they were ahead of all of us, where they've said, morning, advanced web ranking reports showed some really big fluctuations over the past few days. Unfortunately, it looks like it's wiped out the gains we made during the November core update. Do you have any insight on this, or is it just normal fluctuations? For those of you that don't know, we got told just a week after the last update, there is a new core update rolling out right now. So this person was on it. I don't think we can give any kind of insights or anything yet, because it has only just been released, unless anybody would like to say anything. But if not, we'll hold this question. They've answered the question. Well, we've already answered the question. There is an update, but so that's probably why there's fluctuations. But we can't really give any insight on it at the moment, I don't think, unless Jérôme, Silvia, you would like to add anything.
No, nothing to add here. I just heard about it yesterday also. So I think it's still early days. But one thing that I've heard also is that now Google is doing more and more updates. And I think it was yesterday or the day before that they did this Google Search Central in Zurich, the meeting. And they were saying also there that nowadays they're going to do more often all of these releases, all of these rollouts. So I think we need to get just used to it. Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't impact anybody too much. Jérôme, do you have anything to add, or should we just jump on to the next question?
No, just adding that you need to keep monitoring, tracking those fluctuations. Maybe try to spot if it's the whole website, just a category, just a certain types of pages, just so you can try to understand if it's your full website that is impacted or only small topics. So keep tracking, monitoring, and don't panic.
Amazing. Last week we had Daniel Foley-Carter and Amanda Walls on, and we spent about 25 minutes talking about the November core update. And we also spoke about just how to assess if anything's happened to your site. So it might be worth going back and having a look at that if you're worried about it. Okay, next question. We've been quoted higher than expected for a full technical SEO audit. If we were to tackle it ourselves, what should we focus on? And are there any essential resources or guidelines you would suggest? Who would like to kick off on this one?
I'm happy to start. I know.
Go for it, Silvia.
Okay, no problem. I do a lot of technical audits, and I understand it can be pricey, depends on the size of the company and all of these things. So if they want to start doing something themselves, I think that the first thing is they need a crawler, right? Can be like Screaming Frog, on Crawl, or Sidebar. There are many options out there because they need to crawl the website and understand and check if there are like any issue or something that it can be a potential issue. So that's the first thing. And then another thing to also start is to look at the Search Console, because they have a lot of data also that they can identify and see if there's like any issue maybe with canonicals, or they have a lot of information. So that will be my first tip, to start looking at those two sources. And maybe Jérôme wants to add more things there.
Yeah, I was going to say as well that if you want to do it yourself, first you will need a tool, a crawler. To do technical audits, you need to crawl your website. So depending on the size of the website, it might explain the price also of the quote. If you're working on a very large website, it's going to cost as well to crawl it. And then depending on the complexity and the number of pages you have, it might not always be easy to tackle it yourself. But yeah, then you have to go through the basic technical things. So crawling to audit like internal linking, everything related to indexability, so status codes, all the SEO tags, index, meta index, canonical tags, fix the broken links. And then there is everything related to page speed, which can be done via other tools as well. Yeah, but the idea of a full technical SEO is to make sure that Google can crawl your website, Google has access to your content, and that this content can be indexed in the search engine. And then make sure it's easy for Google to crawl your pages and it's fast for him. Yeah, this would be the thing I would have in mind, but it can be expensive if an agency is doing it.
Ruth, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think further to add, you raised some very valid points, Silvia and Jérôme. Nothing further.
Great. Okay. And everything everyone said makes sense. And in terms of doing it yourself, I guess it depends on how complex your website is. Jérôme was saying that if it's a fairly small, simple website, then it's pretty easy to do a technical audit, and most of the tools have really good knowledge bases and guides on basically how to run that. I think the most important thing is just to make sure that the website is crawlable and accessible, the pages that you want search engines to see, that they're available in the way that you expect them to be. And Jordan's just put in, it depends on that. Oh no, if I said it depends. Sorry. But in terms of you've been quoted higher than expected, I guess I would probably reach out to a few other SEOs and basically find out how much they would charge. Usually with stuff like technical audits, you're paying for the amount of time somebody's spending doing it rather than anything else. And like Jérôme was saying, if it's a complex website or if it's a large website, it's going to take longer just to analyze those crawls and actually having some time to just think about what they're seeing and making recommendations based on that is quite important. Great. Ruth, do we have anything in the chat, or are you happy to jump to the next question?
Well, there's one in the chat about ranking for solar panels for data centers in our blog post. My manager wants to create a better looking page with similar content. Can I use a link from the blog and make it that page instead? So yes, that was the question there.
Okay, sorry, I can see the questions. Yeah, okay, so we are currently ranking #1 for solar panels for data centers on a blog post. My manager wants to create a better looking page with similar content. Can I use the link from the blog and make it that page instead? Okay, cool. I get it. Jérôme, you're shaking your head. Would you like to go first?
If it was that easy, yeah, you might, if it's the same content, then it's going to look like duplicate content in the eyes of Google. It happens sometimes that blog posts, because they are the way they are written, the fact that it's maybe going deeper into the content, into the context, etc., are ranking higher than a good looking landing page with a, I don't know what, if you want to get leads and you're trying to get someone a formula or leaving an email, probably that's the end goal. Blog post might be better for ranking, but then yeah, less good for conversion. So just a link is not going to be enough, I believe. And duplicating the content might not be the best strategy as well. So maybe a good CTA inserted in the blog post would work as well. Otherwise, maybe invest a bit in having a better looking blog, a bit of design, if it's possible. I don't know if you have other suggestions.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, I totally agree with you. They're already ranking with that page, so it's risky to create another page. And also that intent, yeah, everything that you said. Yeah, I do think that right now, maybe the CTA is the best option, trying to, okay, that's the page that is driving the traffic. So then try to convert it with a nice CTA to the next page that you want them to go, show them the path. But yeah, I think that if you duplicate the content, you are going to have more issues also, yeah.
What they could do is build another page that is targeting another intent that is maybe further in the funnel. So I don't know what keyword it's ranking on. If the intent is more like learning about the topic, that's probably what the blog post is ranking about. And then they could create another page about pricing, comparing a bit different strategy and answering the next question that somebody who is going to buy is going to ask. So probably another keyword as well. And then linking both pages.
So by link, do they mean URL? And therefore they're just asking if they should keep the page address and change the content. The content doesn't seem like a duplicate content question to me. Michelle, could you, if you're still on the call, would you mind just clarifying what you mean by link? Is that all right? When I've been in situations like this before, where, say, for instance, you want a commercial page ranking for something, but a blog post ranks instead, it is quite tempting to try and create a commercial page and think, damn, that's really what I want. But actually, there's probably a reason that the blog post is ranking for it in the first place in terms of what people are searching for. And so what I've tried to do is evolve those type of pages where I keep that information but add some of those commercial messages in and just evolve that existing page rather than try and create a different page or try and turn what you've got into a purely commercial page, because I would probably look and see what else is ranking. But chances are, if there's probably a reason why a blog post is ranking for that term, I think the term is solar panels for data centers, which does sound like, I get why a blog post might rank for that, where you want more information about it. So personally, if there's a way of developing that page, I guess it depends on whether it's a sort of a set template or not. But chances are, if it's a blog for a business, you probably want some commercial messages in there anyway. So I would probably look at evolving those templates if it is a template, or adding some sort of commercial elements to it. Ruth, do you have any thoughts, or are there any other points in the chat?
No, as Jérôme and Silvia have said, and you said as well, Mike, duplicate content, we think you should avoid that. And as you said, there's probably good reasons why that blog post is ranking high for those words. So no, all good information there.
So we've got some more information from Michelle. So it's not good to change the content under that link is basically what Michelle's asking. So it was that particular URL. I think I personally don't have, I quite often evolve pages that rank. I wouldn't totally change it because there's probably a reason it's ranking in the first place, but you can definitely add things, and particularly those kind of commercial elements, or just try and make if the issue is that the page itself doesn't look that great, I don't think changing the design too much is going to have that much of an impact. Now we have that information, but basically it's the same URL. Is there anything, Jérôme or Silvia, you would like to add?
So they want to use the same URL, but use a different design, a different type of page instead.
Or change the content, basically.
This is risky as well. If the page is already ranking with that content, I'm not sure it's going to keep its ranking if you change the design and the content, of course. So that's risky, yeah. I would really try to work on the intent and try in this SEO funnels and try to see what's the next step. Like somebody is looking for information about solar panel, but what is the keyword when this guy decided to buy? Maybe it's another keyword, another search intent. Than just so probably like price comparison, like I said, or I don't know, further information and getting more into details. Questions like best companies for solar panels or best or price comparison, or I don't know, but look for other keywords and they have a more commercial strategy.
Silvia, do you have anything to add?
No, I do agree. I think that's the best thing to do because they are really ranking with that page. So the only thing that they can do to improve it is, as Jérôme said, try to get the more commercial intent on another page, or as we were saying, the same, like the CTAs to drive them to the commercial page. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't just strip out all the content that's there at the moment and add a product grid or anything like that. I wouldn't do that. But I personally think it's fine to improve that page and make it even better. But yeah, I wouldn't strip out everything if I was them. Ruth, is there anything else to add, or should we jump on to the next question?
Yes, make it better and maybe put some photos and some alt text in there for the keywords that you want to rank for. So yeah, just improve the page. Sounds good.
Cool. Amazing. Okay, so the next question is, how can a UK maker of a hand-drawn jigsaw puzzles website improve their organic traffic during the 9 months between its peak trading seasons? We've been asked not to share the brand name on YouTube, but I can share it with the audience here, the website. So I will do that now. So they produce UK maker of jigsaw puzzles, and I'm guessing Christmas is their busy period, and they basically want to know, how can we improve organic traffic to our website? Silvia or Jérôme, would either of you like to kick off on this one whilst I find the URL?
Yeah, I'm fine to start, no worries.
Go for it.
So yeah, so I think that there's different things here. So one thing is sometimes the products are very seasonal, and this might be the case. For example, I know there's like a lot of website that is only about Christmas, like Christmas products. So obviously most of the traffic is going to come there. But in this case, because it's about jigsaw puzzles, so I think that even if they have peak seasons, they might have also other kind of customers, right? That they don't come only for Christmas, maybe like for other kind of presents. So my recommendation will be to do more keyword research around the topic, but maybe not with that huge commercial intent, more informational, try to drive more people before the peak season, maybe try to check with different tools what people is asking about that kind of product, and try to get them before the peak season. And also another thing is obviously to get ready for them, because the same, all these products that are very seasonal, so you need to work on them and have everything ready 2 months before. So the same, they need to keep the focus on the main periods, and that all the content is ready. Maybe if they have like a specific menu, they change things for those specific periods, they need to keep doing that and reinforcing it. But yeah, also try to explore other options, maybe more informational content outside that period. That will be my recommendation.
Great. Jérôme, do you have anything to add?
Yes, so since they have time to prepare, they should make sure that they're ready for a long time before this period happens, because Googlebot's not going to start crawling 2 days before. Probably they're going to look for, if it's seasonality and they have like specific pages for Christmas, let's say specific landing pages for this type of keywords, I don't know, gift ideas for Christmas, puzzles, or I don't know what they're targeting during this period, but they need to be ready a lot in advance. So make sure that they're prepared for this period a long time in advance, making sure that the website and those pages are still accessible, everything are related to the structure, internal linking, of course, the robot.txt. And if they use seasonality page, landing pages, make sure that they keep the same pages every year and don't use a page with the year in the URL, let's say Christmas 24 and then the 25 for the next year. Make sure that they keep using the same pages. It's going to be easier for Googlebots to find them and know about this page's history. So yeah, and then since they have this time, they can, instead of working only on content, making sure that on the technical side, they're ready as well for that period, optimizing technical SEO during this time, I guess. Because if they don't have new content to share or to produce, or if they don't, there is no search for the keywords they're targeting during this, well, this 9 months period, like, yeah, they can use this time to focus on other SEO's topics. such as technical SEO. And probably also build on the authority of the brand as well. So be ready in advance, long time before.
Great. Ruth, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I just think it's also important to optimize whatever presence you have further. For example, they've got a Facebook page. I would be, someone's bought a jigsaw puzzle from them, emailing those customers and saying, did you have a positive experience? Do you like your jigsaw puzzle? Would you give us a review on Facebook, for example? I noticed that couldn't find a Google business listing, but if they had one, and for other companies, those Google business reviews are fantastic. And really the reach that Google business has is I think is just constantly improving. So adding alt text to the images that you upload to Google business, adding alt text to images that you upload to Facebook, and really optimizing your digital presence.
Great. I really love this business. It's such a nice website. Looking at their traffic, it looks like it's just grown steadily over time. It looks like they're actually doing all the right things. I think if I was them, I would just carry on with what they're doing. I love the fact that they do puzzles, not just for Christmas, but around certain special occasions. And I think I would be tempted to focus more off their website and build relationships with things like journalists who write about the top things you can buy people for Christmas or gifts for Father's Day and those kind of things, where I would try and get some of these puzzles featured on those lists, because to me, it doesn't make sense that this website would rank #1 for things like best Christmas gifts, for example, because it's only one option. But it would make sense to get featured where other people are writing about the range of Christmas things that are really cool this year. And I think the same really for when they create puzzles around particular occasions. For example, there was one there for the King's coronation. What a great opportunity to get their brand in front of people when people are writing about great things that you can buy around things like, obviously for future events, because that one's already happened. But to me, this is like a gold mine for sort of more of the, not really SEO, more the kind of PR stuff, where, because you've just got so many great things, like what great Christmas gifts for families to come together. And even just like looking at the site, it just looks like it works. It makes sense. So it's only a small website. They've only got like hundreds or thousands of products. I would keep just producing really great products around particularly these different occasions outside of Christmas. And I think it was Silvia or somebody said doing more on social and stuff like that. I personally would probably put my effort on there, just because they've just got so many unique designs. They've got one here about ABBA. They've got something about the they've got one around, I think, the Olympics, or a sports event, one about David Attenborough. So I feel like this is just, rather than just focusing on my own website, I would probably think about how do I get us featured just in other places where there are real eyeballs, not just for search engines, and try and get them featured. Sorry, I know this is SEO office hours, not really PR hours, but it looks like you're doing... like you're ranking well for, I'm just looking at some of the search terms and the things that you would expect around jigsaws and so on. They seem to be ranking quite well. So I personally would probably try and get us featured on different blog posts and articles writing about where you're just one piece, rather than, I wouldn't start just creating blog posts around Christmas gifts and trying to rank #1 for that, because it doesn't really make sense personally. Ruth, is there anything in the chat?
Yeah, Rob says here, yes, it looks like the perfect site to content, including text and video. So that's a great idea. There will be an interesting process that they can map out and create content around, because they have an Our Story segment for the company. So that's a good point. And John agrees with not just focusing on SEO, more about driving more awareness so that people search for the products rather than hoping someone searches for the products on their own. Yes, and you raise a very valid point, Mike. I think this is where a great experience where you can combine your offline with your online and try and get some of those morning papers. I don't think they have them anymore in London, but some of those like perfect gifts for Christmas or Mother's Day or Father's Day, that sort of stuff.
Can I just say something?
Push can. Hey, Rob, hang on, let me add you.
Hello.
Go for it, Rob.
I mentioned in the chat about creating how-to content. If they're handmade and they're hand-drawn, that process is something they can map over, whether it's videos, whether they can do processes that they can be on arts and crafts sections for blogs. But if they're looking for sales outside of seasonal times, this is what we suffer with as well. They need to have some evergreen stuff. So if they're creating idioms, things that people buy all year round, then it fits in with what you said about being on other people's gift sites. So if they create a section on the top 6 football teams by number of supporters, or Porsche or Ferrari, things that people are passionate about throughout the year. Then you open yourself up to different fan bases. They're not fans of jigsaws, but they're fans of Ferrari. So they might want something based around that. And now you can push that out onto another dozen websites. Whereas if you're just looking for other occasions, Mother's Day, Father's Day, you're still limiting what you're doing. Find a dozen other passionate areas that people have fans around, Star Wars and license aside, where you can keep people engaged all year.
Amazing. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah. Can I add something too?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that also, like, I checked the website, and yeah, it's fairly small. And I think that maybe also what you said sparked something, like they can share like real customers' pictures, like with the pastels that they have done, because they are custom made. Maybe it's that they can try to create more content to feature the products, but it's more informational. Okay, look what you can do or what you can get or something like that. And they can also share in social media, other things, but also capture it on the website. I think that will be also something that can help them.
Amazing. Would anybody else like to add anything? Or Ruth, is there anything else in the chat?
No, great advice, Rob, says you Orden.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. The next question that we've got is, right, we're in the process of redesigning our website structure, and it's been suggested that incorporating specific terms into the URLs might offer benefits by making analysis easier. However, could this approach have a negative impact on SEO? So I'm guessing they've already got a structure in place and they're thinking about adding terms into their URLs. Maybe if it's for their blog, it might be including the word category, for example, or adding post for post or something like that to make analysis easier. And the question is, somebody suggested that, so that there's the benefit of it might help us with analysis, but will it impact SEO? Who would like to kick off on this one?
Happy to jump in.
Go for it, Silvia.
Yeah, so I think that they are already in the process of changing the website, right? But what they need to think is, like, are they going to change anyway the URLs? Is that part of it because they are rebranding or something else? Because if not, like, the best practice is not to change the URL, right? Because if it's already ranking, it's better not to change the URL, because the URL is the address of the page. So it has a history, and yeah, for SEO, it's better to keep the URLs. But that said, also, if they are already planning to move it because of other reasons, and they're planning a migration only like content refresh, so then yes, it will be good. They can change the other terms if they want to, because it's the same. They're going anyway to change the URLs. But the only thing is, if they only do it for analytics or things like that, there's other ways that they could do that without changing the URL. So I will be very careful just with that, because it can be risky if it's an established URL and then you change it for a new one. Even if you do the 301 redirects and everything, then there's things that can be risky for the visibility.
Great. Jérôme, do you have anything to add?
Nothing really to add. I agree with Silvia. Don't change the URLs if you don't have to. Usually when SEOs have to, it's because of mass migration or technical SOCL migration, and they have to change the URL. They have no choice. Or if you're doing, like, I don't know, like a consolidation of your domains into one .com domain, if you're on an international website. So unless you have to, don't change the URLs. If you have to, it's great to have URLs that are easy then to categorize. If you have products pages, if you can have a /p or /product in the URL, it's going to be a lot easier for your tools to categorize the pages, especially with on-crawl and analytics tools as well. So yeah, that's always great to have a structure that is easy to understand and not having everything at the root of the path of running this. Yeah, so if it's just a redesign, just don't change the URLs. I agree with Silvia.
Ruth, do you have anything to add, or is there anything in the chat?
No, I'm just going to agree with Jérôme and Silvia, because yes, if you think about it, if you have a great house, why would you move it somewhere else if it's already well structured? No, I agree with Jérôme and Silvia.
Yeah, I think what Silvia was saying around, if it's purely down to the analytics side of things, GA4 allows you to analyze and filter things by page titles as well as URLs. So maybe there's a simpler way. So rather than needing to change all of your URLs, maybe you can change something in terms of, maybe you've got some sort of pattern with your page titles or something like that might make it a bit easier to analyze in GA4 rather than do that. I personally wouldn't if it was purely just down to being able to analyze better analytics. We've got a few things in the chat as well, Ruth. You're on mute.
Very good. I'm also aware that we have more questions coming in, so I want to ensure that we answer as many questions as possible. So as I said, Iber agreed with Silvia for the reason mentioned, and Jordan said, yeah, avoid and create unnecessary link, avoid changing it in terms of specific URLs. Having the main keyword in the URL would be a strong signal. So as long as you ensure that the content on the page is aligned with the topic and search intent, but obviously be mindful of keyword stuffing. And then we've got a follow-up question about the solar panels for the data center page. The question here is, the content is a bit different and we will internally link to the blog post, but the main keyword is both solar for data centers. I guess this will create duplicate content. What should I do? Maybe, Michelle, you could just clarify what you mean by that, and then we can try and get back to you, noting that it's 8:10. We want to make sure that we answer as many questions as possible.
8:10 in Australia. It's 10:10 in the UK. Actually, Michelle, you're also welcome to share a URL with us. That might be helpful. Then we can actually have a look at all the website. We don't have to mention the brand if you don't want, but you can share it with everybody here and we can have a look. Whilst you're doing that, we'll jump onto another question.
Yes.
God, we've got so many. Let me try and find one. It's okay. What do you think of tools and plugins that automatically insert internal links? Are they a smart way to improve internal linking, or might they raise flags with search engines? Jerome,
yeah, I can.
Go, Silvia, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, I was going to say that, yeah, I think that we can use those tools and plugins, but I think at the moment they are still not perfect. For example, I know some for WordPress. One is Whisper, I think is the name of the plugin. And I've seen it, but it's that a lot of people is complaining that they know all the links are like the right ones, right? You still need to, so it's going to help you with productivity and do it quicker, but you still need to validate it at the moment, right? Maybe in a couple of years, everything is perfect. And the ideal that we all want is just press a button and all the links are there. But I think that we are not yet at the moment, although they are great tools, like for example, in links. And they can help you also like with NLP links. So it's not going to be like risky links because they are going to be like related. They calculate like the relevancy, semantics, all of this. And they have a way of doing it automatically with JavaScript, I believe. So there's tools that they can use, and that will be more like for large websites. So yeah, they can experiment, but yeah, not all of the tools are perfect at the moment. They still need some validation.
Great.
I don't know if Jérôme, yeah.
You have anything to add?
Yeah, I had the same experience as Silvia, like for a blog, personal blog, I was trying to find one that is working, like suggesting similar content on the same topic from the other blog posts. It was never perfect. I was never really happy with it. Also, I want to say that internal linking is really a key factor that you can use in technical SEO to really boost your page's ranking. It's something to consider and with caution and use, and it's very powerful. So it's like showing the way to Google bots of what content it should crawl, and also for users is finding similar content on the same topic. I wouldn't rely like on, depending on the size of the website. Again, like if it's a blog, if it's like a small niche site, it might help you, but I would invest in developing something more in-house for your specific needs. Really, it's the technical internal linking is really a key factor, I would say, for ranking. Powerful tool. So yeah, I wouldn't rely like on just a plugin that is for free. It's not going to make miracles.
Great. Ruth, do you have anything to add?
No, I'm just listening because it's so much valid information. I don't have as much experience in internal linking, so it's really interesting hearing what Jérôme and Silvia have to say about this. So thank you.
Great. I don't have loads to add. We do have Dixon Jones here next week, who is a co-founder of InLinks, which Silvia mentioned. So I might actually hold the question, even though we've got through the question, I might re-ask the question next week and see if Dixon's got some thoughts as well. I've only 10 years ago used to use plugins and things like that used to do things, but I was always worried they didn't get the context and it didn't really make sense. It's been mostly manual since then, or kind of templated or whatever, but I think, yeah, I'll save it for Dixon. Michelle, thank you for sharing the URLs with us. If anybody in the chat wants to have a look and give some feedback, if it's all right with you, I might save it for next week and share it so we actually have some time to look at those pages. But if it's urgent, you can just put it in the chat and then I'll come back to you. Okay, next question that we've got is, how can marketers and SEO specialists work more effectively with developers to actually implement SEO changes smoothly? Anyone had these issues before?
I was SEO in-house before working with the Ahrefs at Ahrefs. It's been 4 years now at Ahrefs. And once the SEO, like we had, it was a real estate company. So selling housing and new housing. Once the chief marketing officer decided for the rebranding, not the rebranding, but the redesign of the platform and also consolidation of all the brands into one was the priority for this migration. I had the chance to work closer with the developers who were going to conduct this. And something that really worked is that I took part of they were working in agile mode. So I was invited to not all the dailies, but the key meetings, the sprint plannings. And I was also working closely with them on writing the specifications. So it was further than just making a ticket and cross-fingered that they understand what I want. I was talking with them every week, being part of knowing what their technical constraint was, and also like making choices when they could not do something in the time when an SEO recommendation had too much cost in terms of development. So I could make choices for the MVP, let's say, of the feature I was asking for. So yeah, if SEO is considered in the company and is part of the project and let's say the owner of the website is the SEO guy or somebody aware of that SEO needs to be there at the beginning of the project and not at the end once the website is ready, it's going to be a lot easier. And we're working with the technicals and the devs, try to be part of the meetings and to know the persons as well. It's going to be a lot easier. Yes.
Yeah, I do agree. Yes. Yeah. I used to work for different companies, and the one that it was the best, like the relationship with the developers, it was the one that the developers, they were on the same floor as a SEO team. So that way we can have a fluid communication, we get to know each other, as Jérôme said, and then you understand how they work, if it's in sprints every 2 weeks, and also you can check up on things that they're doing. Also being involved, not only on the meetings, also talk to them about things. For example, if you want to raise a ticket and you don't know maybe the resources, how difficult it's going to be for them to implement it. So it's good to have those discussions together. So the best is if you can do it face-to-face, but sometimes also I had that experience that the developers, they were like in India or in another country, or you cannot have access to them. You have a point of contact, and then this point of contact is the one that is communicated to developers. So that it gets a bit more difficult, the communication there, but still, I will say try to talk to them and involve them and ask also for their opinion. And also when you validate things, if you check things, is the way you communicate, and try to work together as a team. That will be my recommendation.
Yeah, and what you said, Silvia, about testing, and so if you can also be involved in the testing and the QA part before it goes live, like crawling a staging website before you go live, it's always it's necessary. Like you have to do that. Don't test it when it's live and it's too late. So make sure you have access to at least the testing environments. Sometimes I even had access to the dev environment, so I could test while they were actually working on it and discuss with them. And sometimes like your recommendation in SEO it seems easy to you, but then depending on the CMS, and it's never easy for them and they can block and spend a lot of time on something that you believe in the end is not, let's say, it's not going to bring the impact expected compared to the cost in terms of days of working on it. Yeah, if you're always there to prioritize and find other alternatives, cheaper alternatives, I would say. It's going to improve a lot the capacity for the developers to go faster and implement your recommendations, or at least MVP versions of them.
Great. Ruth, do you have anything to add?
Just to add that, yes, communication is key, because if you're not there, as you said, for you as an SEO technical expert, it might seem obvious and people to understand. So I think if the SEO experts, technical experts in the meeting with the developers, that's key. And I physically in the meeting or face-to-face on Zoom, for example, versus email and then another email, because we all get drowned in emails, but once a week or quite regularly, and then obviously midway through testing the site, but also making sure that before the site goes live, there does need to be some testing to ensure it's accessible for people who have, let's say, a vision impairment or a mobility impairment. Can this site be accessible just with the tab key, for example? They have a cognitive or hearing impairment, because all sites, or in Australia anyway, if they don't cater for people with a disability, they have to be at least a AA status. If they cater for people more specifically with a disability, they have to at least be a AAA status. I think at the time when I was looking at accessibility, Okada was a very accessible site. So I think accessibility is key, and that's really important that people test it also with user testing as well.
Great. I think when it comes to develop, like I've worked with loads of developers, and I think always remembering that they've got a ton of other things on their plate, not just SEO. So just because SEO is so important to us doesn't mean it is to them, and they've only got so many hours in a day. So A, appreciating that. B, making their life as easy as possible. So when you send things to them, send it how they want it. If they prefer meetings, do that. If they prefer it just on Slack, if they prefer it in if they're working to certain timelines or in sprints or whatever, work the way that they want. And the only other thing I would add is just share results with them as well. So if they've helped you do something and it's gone really well, and pass on some of that credit to them, make them a part of it so that they want to be involved in future ones. Then they're not just somebody that's doing something for you, they're helping make it happen. I think that they're the only things that I'd add. We don't have long. Is there anything in the chat, Ruth, or are we okay to jump on to the next question? Oh, you're on mute. Because you're in the Christmas tree.
In the Christmas tree, that's right. There's a few things in the chat, but I was also thinking that it would be good to go through with perhaps one more question, Mike, if there's one there.
Cool. Fine. Our e-commerce website recently experienced a significant drop in rankings for high-performing keywords. Upon investigation in Google Search Console and Ahrefs, we discovered a sudden influx of thousands of spammy backlinks from low-quality domains, e.g., adult content websites, gambling sites, and unrelated foreign language blogs. Many of these links use anchor text like cheap fitness gear or irrelevant spam keywords. We suspect this is a case of negative SEO targeting our site to damage its credibility and rankings. How can we confirm if this is malicious backlink bombing rather than natural link building gone wrong? What immediate steps should we take to disavow these links and prevent further damage to our domain authority? And how do we safeguard our site from similar attacks in the future while maintaining a healthy backlink profile? Quite a meaty question there for the end. Sorry I left it so long. Who would like to kick off on this one? Go for it, Jérôme.
Yes. So I think natural link building cannot go wrong. So if something that could go wrong is more like using black hat or gray hat techniques to build links, this could go wrong sometimes if you're not handling it and if you're using an expert, an SEO expert to do that. This could eventually go wrong. Also, like disavowing links. So what I read and what Google is saying, and maybe if John Muller is still there, that you don't have to do this anymore. Like Google can understand. So I'm not sure that malicious backlink bombing still exists or is going to damage credibility. And it takes a lot of time to do that cleaning work as well. I did it. I had this experience. I think Silvia as well. It takes a lot of time. I'm not sure if I have a significant drop in rankings on high performing keywords, I would go for a technical audit first, like crawling my website. maybe an update on the website, maybe a change, suddenly update on Google's side as well, but not backlinks. I wouldn't go that direction, I think.
Okay, great. Silvia?
Yeah, so I do agree that it's important also to check other things because it might be cause for other like technical issues or other issues, other Google updates. I agree with Jérôme. And then regarding the disavow, so it's true that Google recommends not to do it because they can handle it nowadays. It's not the same as the years ago, but still, with some of my clients, I still do it, and it will depend. It's like really case by case, and also it depends how like the percentage of links, toxic links that they have, because sometimes if it's just a tool, the tools, it is risky to do it in case that tools sometimes they say something like a bad link, but maybe it's not as bad. But they need to like also check them manually, like the domains, the number of backlinks, the domain, the root domain, and then see if it's like a big percentage, 30%, 40% of their backlink profile. I would say they could try to do that, but not only do that, do more things like also check the website, right? Because there might be other reasons there.
Great. Ruth, do you have anything to add, or is there anything in the chat?
Oh yeah, John said, I already ignore these and focus on something productive instead. It does seem like a lot of work. As you said, it's a very meaty question. No, I was just going to say, I know there were a few minutes short of finishing. So I just wanted to again say thank you everyone for joining us. And for those watching the recording, if you want to join us live, then head over to the Good Signals website just to make sure you get the invites for the SEO office hours added to your calendar. And then you can also submit questions and watch previous episodes. Just wanted to make sure we remind those who are watching the recording.
Great. Yeah, I agree. I think you need to be careful with wasting time doing one thing and not focusing on others. And also, it could be that you're focusing on the wrong thing. That I'd be tempted to do what Jérôme said and go back and think about, not jump to that conclusion that it's that. It could be something else. There have been multiple Google updates. There's one at the moment. There was one just last month. It could be that something's changed in-house that you didn't know about. So I would start by doing a technical audit as well and trying to work out on Search Console what pages or sections have been impacted. Is it the entire site? Is it specific parts? With the disavow, I think that's a thing that comes up again and again on office hours. I probably wouldn't bother, because I think once you do it, do you then do it again in a week's time, then again, and you end up creating a load of work for yourself when you could spend that time creating content and so on. If it helps you sleep better at night, maybe, but I probably spend that time focused on other stuff. Very quickly, sorry, I've been very disorganized. We're at 10:30. We usually finish now. I'll finish with the very last question, but we've only literally got 30 seconds. What are you most excited about in terms of SEO? Silvia, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO at the moment?
Yeah, so we see all this new, not that new, but all the AI. So I'm trying to explore ways of maybe incorporating more AI to the processes, and also like checking the impact on overviews and all of these things. That is what is more exciting now for me.
Amazing. Jérôme, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
A joke, but also because I'm curious about this antitrust case. I'm really curious about what's going to come out. New things we will learn about how Google works, because they are what we call the leaks, and from those cases they are really interesting. So yeah, it's trolling Google a bit. Yeah.
Ruth, what are you most excited about in terms of SEO?
I was going to say Google Business, Google My Business. I think there's countless opportunities there to improve search results. And I think I said it last time in SEO and SEO office hours, and really how it affects in a positive way in ranks and in search results. I can't stop using Google Business. So it's great.
Great. And just in the chat, we've got Ruth is already feeling the Christmas vibes. Nice background design, which mentioned that you're inside a Christmas tree. John's most excited about your robots TXT, which I think is a joke. Thank you to everybody that watched live. Thank you to those watching afterwards on YouTube. Thank you so much to Jérôme and Silvia for joining us as special guests. Ruth, thank you so much for co-hosting. And thank you those who submitted questions. We've got one more office hours before Christmas, and then we'll be back at some point in January. So see you next week. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Lovely weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.